and welcome everybody to lo-fi hip-hop beats you can relax and study to without the drums. I'm the infamous Orion, and I'm feeling pretty chill.
I'm Cairo, and I'm a schmo.
And now we're going to just recite the dictionary for like an hour.
Yeah.
Do you ever
First
like
word, Morbius.
more BS? Can you use that in a sentence?
Uh, that guy Morbius morbed all over those morblings.
Well, it's Morbin time, ladies and gentlemen.
hmm
Uh, do you think the internet will convince Sony to do what they did with Morbius with Madam Web, where they will just re-release it in theaters because of memes?
I highly doubt it.
If they do, Sony kind of deserves to take the hit.
Oh, they absolutely do. I The whole thing is really bizarre and kind of depressing, honestly.
I mean,
Do you want to just lead with the Madam Web
we have
stuff
so
here?
many big things going on right now. Why not go with the dumpster
All
fire right
right.
away?
It without question, it is a dumpster fire. Uh, but to me, the more interesting part of it is the sort of like canary in the coal mine that it is for the film industry and particularly, Sony's handling of it as an example of how the film industry operates, right? There's no one in their right mind that should see how Morbius was received and think, we want more of that.
They want more BS of that.
Yeah. Uh, Two pieces I saw on this. One from Chris Stuckman, who is a sort of like indie tier but fairly successful filmmaker, does a lot of film reviews. Another from Austin McConnell, who is again in the peripherals of the entertainment industry, but neither at this kind of a level, right? But
Yeah.
both having experience, working on productions of their own, working with other people's productions, and in the writing process, right? They are the kind of people who know people who are in those industry positions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and very interesting to hear their perspectives about it, right? It's very similar to the kind of stuff that we're seeing in the gaming space, where you have people who are, genuine, uh, talented, creative people in these industries that end up being tasked to work on these big budget productions, Morbius, Madam Web, Suicide Squad, and being kind of put into these impossible situations. Like, I think it was McConnell pointed out, where is Sony going with this? They have what they call the Spider, that was it, the Sony Spider-Man universe,
It just rolls off the tongue.
and they don't have fucking Spider-Man. And there's no plan
Uh,
for them to have Spider-Man back.
Spider-Man is in this movie. Thank you very much.
But there's not like seriously though. There's no plans for them to make a Spider-Man movie
No, not at
because
all.
they sold the rights to Marvel for a period of time. I mean, he brought up a really good point also, how because Marvel got the rights to do Spider-Man, and then they made an objectively incredibly successful and popular Spider-Man, even if or when Sony gets the rights back to it, there's no way that they can meet that bar.
Have
Either
you
they're going to be stuck trying to copy Marvel again and just, keep cast the same casting and just always hide in that shadow, or they're going to have to do something different and it's probably going to be received worse regardless.
Have I told you about the Spider-Man debacle they had for Madam Web in general?
What's that?
So this I can not remember my source on this. So
Hmm.
overall, they wanted Tom Holland to be in this movie,
Yep.
but Tom Holland said no.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. Then they thought, okay, if we can't get Tom Holland, let's get Andrew Garfield. I think Andrew said no, or something came up. So after that, they kind of came to this realization: maybe we shouldn't cast Spider-Man in this.
I've just started reading the plot to Madam Web on Wikipedia,
Oh, I know.
and it is worse than I thought.
Can we do one of our patented Two Schmo Wikipedia entry readings?
Yeah, but let's get to this like just off the hop, right?
Yeah,
I don't think it's neither of us have seen Madam Web, right?
I don't plan on it.
And yeah, I was gonna say we don't have any plans to change that. It is, by all objective measures, a bad movie. It is not worth the time or the money that they're asking for it. And from what I've seen of theater attendances, that is being thoroughly reflected in its reception at theaters. Um, so if you're somebody who's somehow listening to this and doesn't want to be spoiled on the cinematic the thing that is Madam Web, we're just gonna get into spoilers because who fucking cares at this point? In 1973, a research
Ooh,
team led by Ezekiel Sims and his pregnant partner Constance Webb discover an unidentified species of spider in the jungles of Peru with rare healing properties. Ezekiel betrays the team and claims the spider for himself before leaving Constance for dead. An indigenous tribe attempts to save Constance using the bite of the spider, but she dies shortly after giving birth to a girl whom she names Cassandra. In
ooh.
2003, Cassandra, going by Cassie, lives alone in Queens, New York, working as a paramedic alongside her co-workers Benjamin Ben Parker and O'Neill. While working to save a driver from a car hanging off a bridge, Cassie falls into the water and has a near-death experience. Ben revives her, but Cassie soon begins to suffer from what she initially dismisses as déjà vu, seeing events that have not yet happened, but slowly realizes that she can see into the future after failing to prevent O'Neill from dying on the job. Ezekiel, who has gained the same power as Cassie along with enhanced physical abilities, collects information on three young women: Julia Cornwall, Anya Corazon, and Maddie Franklin. His visions lead him to believe that they are destined to kill him. Cassie
Pause.
is also drawn to the. Yes, pause.
Yeah. So here's my first observation I just want to make real quick.
Yep.
So it's implied that, Madam Web, Cassie,
Yes.
gets these future seeing abilities after a near death experience, right?
Correct.
Why the fuck does Ezekiel just have them?
Good question.
Okay, continue.
Also notable. I'm sorry. Did they just say Ben Parker?
Nah,
We,
different
we,
Ben
we
Parker.
don't we don't know about any other Ben Parkers that exist. That's
Yeah.
probably a coincidence.
Ben Parker is such a random name to have on a Spider Man
I'll,
thing.
I'll say though, it is painting themselves into an exceptionally weird corner. From what I understand, in the Spider-Man comics, Madam Web is like an old woman who does exist like in the Spider-Man universe and does have these powers and kind of stuff, but is not like the timelines of this, if they want it to somehow mesh up at all with any other existing Spider-Man that exists, is basically impossible just from the start with that.
Yes.
Putting Cassie and Ben fucking Parker, who, you know, we have. I think it's fair to assume, given that the Wikipedia page links to the fucking Uncle Ben page, is the same Ben. In 2003 makes no sense.
Makes perfect sense. I don't know what you're fucking on, dude.
All right, well, let's continue.
Wait. Okay, so
Yeah.
because clearly they wanted Tom Holland in this, right? So they're trying to get
Probably.
this parallel to the MCU timeline or in the
Hmm.
original draft.
Yes, in originally, yes.
Okay. I know something about this movie. I don't know if you know about it. So I
What's
just
that?
want to stress 2003.
Okay.
Okay. Continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cassie is also drawn to the same women and intervenes to stop Ezekiel from ambushing them at Grand Central Station. She steals a taxi and takes Julia, Anya, and Maddie out of the city to hide them in a nearby forest. Cassie returns to her apartment and finds her late mother's notes, which reveal Ezekiel's identity. So let me just double check. Yeah, so that's like her dad. Just to be clear, Ezekiel is Cassie's father.
Weird.
Because they
Okay.
especially they stress at the start Ezekiel and his pregnant partner Constance. So that's like,
That could mean
you
two
know,
things. Yeah.
yeah, but it seems to that be the intent. Reveal Ezekiel's identity and the true nature of his powers. The girls disobey Cassie's instructions and go to a diner where Ezekiel finds the trio after they draw attention to themselves. Through her visions, Cassie determines she can't beat Ezekiel physically and instead uses the taxi to ram him. She takes the girls back to Queens and persuades Ben to let them use his residence as a safe house. With the group safe, Cassie flies to Peru and tracks down the tribal chief who saved her mother. The chief, having anticipated her arrival, puts Cassie through a ritual that separates her soul from her body. This enables her to experience a plane of higher consciousness, where all living things are connected and where every possible future can be seen. Cassie also learns that her mother, far from being the selfish woman that she had already always perceived, sought the spider to save her from a fatal hereditary disease. Ben's pregnant sister in law, Mary, goes into labor, and he is forced to take the girls to a hospital. Ezekiel intercepts them again, but Cassie is able to rescue the girls in an ambulance and distract Ezekiel so Ben and Mary can escape. The group
Yes.
lures Ezekiel to a condemned firework factory, setting up traps to disorient him while Cassie calls for a medical evacuation helicopter to fly to their location. Ezekiel destroys the helicopter with his abilities and separates the girl, then isolates Cassie, where he taunts her with her mother's death. By tapping into the web of life, TM, Cassie is able to locate Maddie, Anya, and Julia, guiding them to safety before setting off one final trap. Okay, it's important to note that that final trap is a literal gigantic Pepsi sign.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, did I send you the. No, I sent you. Yeah, no. The scene from Madam Web. I believe it's featured in there. But yeah, they literally crush him with a gigantic Pepsi sign.
Because Coke just would have
Yeah,
given him more power.
causing Ezekiel to fall and get fatally crushed by a Pepsi sign, revealing that Cassie, not the girls, was destined to kill him. In the process, however, a loose firework strikes Cassie in the hospital as Ben and Mary, just as the latter gives birth to her son. A blind Cassie wakes up to discover she is now paralyzed from the waist down due to her injuries. However, her connection to the web of life means she can now see fully into the future. Cassie assures the girls that she will mentor them in their future roles when the time comes.
Boo.
Ooh. Uh, so yeah, it's like
It's a plot.
it's a fundamentally misguided place to start with a movie.
Have you seen what Ezekiel's supervillain outfit looks like?
I have.
It is awful.
It's really boring.
And I mean
It's
awfully familiar.
yeah, it's literally just like negative Spider-Man Miles Morales ish.
Yeah. Same color scheme as Miles.
Yeah. One thing that I did see that would have been actually like really clever and probably too clever for this movie was be the idea of having Andrew Garfield Spider-Man be the villain here
Mm-hmm.
as like, a look into when he talks about when he went kind of dark, like not like Venom dark, but like kind of just mean and evil, but still Spider-Man. I think that could have been an interesting angle that, they obviously didn't explore and probably never will because they don't have the rights to use Spider-Man in live action
So
for
here's
like
the
the next
messed up
6
part,
years.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So again, original intent was to have this run parallel to the MCU.
Yep.
MCU Peter is born in 2001.
So this is just the wrong date.
This is completely wrong.
Okay. And we know it's not either of the other two Spider-Men we've seen because they would have been born much further earlier than that too.
Yes.
So it immediately pins this as a completely different, you know, set of events.
It has to be. I don't like it. Gross.
I guess this is what happens when Marvel writes your universe out of their story in a post-credit sequence. When Venom gets blipped out and sent away at the end of the Spider-Man movie. But yeah, it's it's not great.
No, I would dare say it is just. Unfortunately, it's just another drop in the bucket.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I would be very it's weird, right? Because this is made by Sony. Sony, who is this gigantic, multifaceted, not just media, but like technology conglomerate that is wildly successful in just about everything that they do, but is seemingly unable to get. I don't know. It's weird. From what I understand, part of it is like a contractual thing where they have to like use it or lose it kind of to maintain the rights to the IP access that they have.
Yeah,
But it still really doesn't make sense from a long-term goals perspective. Because we know they have Craven the Hunter coming up. And I think as much as everybody wants it to be like nobody wants a movie to fail, right?
yeah.
Given the trajectory that they've put themselves on, I don't see how it does anything else.
It's like a sunk cost fallacy where they've spent so much money just trying to make Spider-Man movies profitable
Yeah,
that they just can't get out of it now, and it's kind of hilarious.
I don't know. I It would definitely be more funny if the, like misguided masses could understand where to direct their ire at.
I've heard rumors that Dakota Johnson signed up for this movie thinking it's an MCU movie,
I don't doubt it.
and that's why she's so deeply unhappy in the marketing.
I think the best way that I heard it was that Dakota Johnson didn't give her best personal performance, but she gave the performance that the script deserved.
She was literally in a movie about BDSM, and somehow this is the
Yeah.
movie where she got fucked the most.
Well, and that's the thing though, is that she is, almost everybody involved in this is individually very talented.
Yeah, everything about it could work on paper until you get that
Hmm.
plot.
I think it's very amusing. And maybe this is, maybe there's, benefit of the doubt. Maybe there's more in the movie. I doubt it, but maybe there's more in the movie to develop these characters. But for all three of the future Spider Women, they're all a blank teenage girl who blanks, and then they're hunted by Sims for being a future Spider Woman and one of those responsible for his death. And that's it. They are adjective, gender, occupation, Spider Woman.
Are you
That's the
serious?
character. Yeah,
Oh,
like an awkward teenage girl who lives with her father and stepfamily following her mother's departure. She is hunted for being Spider Woman. A homeless teenager forced to live alone after her father's deportation. She is hunted for being a Spider Woman. A teenage girl from a wealthy family, but with absent parents. She is one of the Spider Women. That's literally it.
so
That's all the characterization that these characters have on this Wikipedia entry, at least.
I'm
And,
afraid. Yeah,
Wikipedia is not the be all and end all, but it's usually pretty fucking good. And if there was something more to be gleaned from this, someone would put it there.
I'm terrified even that the idea that they were using this as a launching point to make three movies based off of those characters.
Yeah.
Because you can see the setup, can't you?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Here are three Spider Women.
I wonder what their movies are going to be like.
Maybe that's their out. Maybe that's their long-term plans, is that they lost the rights to Spider-Man, but not Spider-Woman.
Ooh, man.
I hope I'm wrong in that regard, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's like genuinely their plan because nothing else seems to even exist, right? Like they clearly are designing these. That's the whole point of Marvel is that you have a series of films that are individually, okay, usually good, bordering sometimes on being, able to stand on their own, but they build into a greater sum.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the payoff. And Marvel did the Avengers, and it was good. And they did Avengers 2, and it was kind of okay. And then they did Infinity War, and it was good again. And they made all the money. And now everybody else wants all the money as well. And it's the same spot Marvel's in, which I think is kind of hilarious, where all of these cinematic universes don't know how there's no payoff anymore, right? What's the benefit for having seen Morbius before I watch Madam Web?
Literally nothing.
Yeah. Is there going to be some payoff in Craven the Hunter because I saw Morbius 3 years ago? I
Well,
doubt it.
don't forget they want to do a Sinister Six movie like through all these.
Yeah. All these beloved fan characters, fan favorite characters. Who can forget Ezekiel Sims?
Whom?
The Wikipedia page literally has one sentence in the summary.
Oh no. Yeah, that's another weird thing about the Wikipedia page, isn't it? Madam Web gets like 2 paragraphs in her character description,
Yeah.
and then everybody else is reduced to 1 sentence.
From what I've seen and watched and read in the reviews of this, that's because that the extent of the like backstory that the other characters have is what Madam Web have and had, and they didn't have a choice but to give her more characterization because they wanted her to be the main character.
I can't wait for Madam Web 2.
Let me see character of the same name. Let's check out Madam Web's uh Wikipedia page. Who is Madam Web? A fictional character in Marvel Comics, published 1980, usually depicted as a supporting character in the Spider-Man comic book series where she appears as an elderly woman with myasthenia, neuromuscular disease that has facial problems, including blindness. No one knows what the fuck myasthenia gravis is. Connected to a life support system resembling a spiderweb. She is clairvoyant and precognitive mutant who first appears to help Spider-Man find a kidnapping victim. She is not one of the mutants who lost her power during the Decimation storyline. She's attacked by Anna Gravinoff. No. Oh, something related to Craven the Hunter. Who kill her, but before she dies, she is able to pass her powers of precognition as well as her blindness to Julia Carpenter. That fucking sucks. Who becomes the next Madam Web.
Do you ever find it weird how this character, has a very specific disease,
Yes.
and then in the movie they don't even bother to acknowledge it, and they just make it a disability instead?
Yeah. Hit in the face by a firework.
Lame.
Like, especially in like modern day, woke filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
Like they acknowledge that she has that disease, or she had, but her mother cured her of it with magical spiders.
I wish my mom cured me of my
When
disease.
they could have just had it be like an actual plot point where she still has this disease, and maybe because her mom dies she doesn't know that she has it, and now she has to cope with the lack of knowing about her own future when she can see everybody else's.
It'd be really cool if they did it
Wouldn't
where
that
like,
be a story?
yeah,
I think that's kind of like, maybe that's the problem, right? There is so often this misconception that a superhero movie has to be an action movie. And I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate with what Marvel has tried to do with their TV shows, with Loki and WandaVision. And WandaVision kind of falls apart in like the last act on that part of it,
Hmm.
but they are stories based around superheroes that aren't just action for action's sake. They explore other genres and different ways of telling a story, and that's really cool. That helps them to stand up as their own product. I could totally see a Madam Web movie, like in the vein of Shyamalan's Unbreakable Glass type things, where it's less about the action of the superheroes happening at the same as it all happens, and just as much about the experiences that these characters are having and the concepts of self, right?
Yeah,
That's way more interesting, but it's not a I was gonna say summer blockbuster, but it's fucking February, so I guess that doesn't work either. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to find like any way to like think of like the grand picture here, but there's no grand picture. It is literally just flying by the seat of their pants.
Right. And that's probably the reality of it.
Yeah,
If there was a larger picture to be had here, you can be pretty sure they'd be advertising it.
yeah. Because like even Marvel made sure to like advertise like Iron Man will be back in the
Yeah.
Avengers. Yeah,
Right. And they started that with literally the first fucking movie with Iron Man.
yeah,
They started with Iron Man. They introduced the idea of the Avengers at the end of the first goddamn movie. And then in the Hulk movie, that kind of seems like its own separate thing, they still find a way to tie it together in the credits.
Hulk will be back in the Avengers. Like that's all you have to do, man.
Yeah.
Just I don't know, man. We're I don't think we really have superhero fatigue because like stuff like Guardians can still do well.
Right.
We're
It's
just
not superhero movie fatigue, it's bad movie fatigue.
yeah, it's really just lazy movie fatigue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
People like good movies. People like, people don't dislike movies based on existing IPs. Look at Barbie.
Yeah.
But they want to feel like their time isn't being disrespected. And a lot lately, it feels like that's the case.
It really feels like they took the focus group part of it, right? And
Yeah.
I'm convinced they get the dumbest motherfuckers for focus groups. Like,
Yeah, and at a certain point, you kind of have to. But yeah.
yeah. Because, like, they. What is the Marvel Cinematic Universe past the superhero shit?
Mhm.
It's a saga, right? Because they've
Yeah.
literally called it the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
What is Star Wars past the science fiction? It's saga.
Hmm.
People don't dislike those ideas. But when you boil
Yep.
them and condense them to their most basic features, to what can be easily pitched in like one sentence,
Yep.
you get schlock like this. You are distilling everything out and then just copying the distillery and saying, why doesn't it taste the same?
Hmm. Can you imagine Sony going and making a TV series to explain the deeper character lore of any of these people?
You know, I have to confess something, right?
Mm.
I'm a comic book nerd. People kind
Hmm.
of know that about me. My favorite villain in all of comics is Craven the Hunter.
Hmm.
Craven the Hunter, I stand by, is one of the most psychologically interesting villains in all comics.
Hmm.
I would fuck with anything like giving Craven like more character than a 90-minute movie because he's not the kind of character you can do well in 90 minutes.
Hmm.
And honestly, I know it's going to be a bad movie, but I would fuck with the Craven the Craven the Hunter TV show.
Hmm. Yeah, gives it time to breathe.
Yeah, and that's the problem too. Again, because like the Marvel Cinematic Universe gave these characters time to breathe and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking Iron Man got a character arc. What is Madam
Hmm.
Web's character arc in this movie?
She's not blind,
Yeah.
and then she's blind and also
Ooh.
paralyzed.
Mm. I see. It's the beginning of Full Metal Alchemist all over again. It just feels. I'm just sick of it. You know. I just want these to be good again. I like seeing things I recognize on the TV or the movie screens. I don't care that it's repetitive. I just want to see it done with some actual artistic credibility. God damn it. Oh well. Oh, speaking of artistic credibility, what do you think of those Fantastic Four castings?
I think it's kind of fascinating.
Isn't it?
I loved Pascal's. They did like a little interview with some of the people working on it, and seeing how just like deranged Pascal seems about this role is kind of worrying, but also very amusing.
Could you go into more detail? Because I know you sent me a video. I did not have a chance to
Yes.
watch it all.
Okay. I highly recommend watching it because it's psychopathic. But apparently, Pascal, this is not something he did for Fantastic Four. He's been doing this for a little while now. To help him in memorizing his lines, he has started to make let me see if I can actually pull it up real quick and I'll send you a screenshot. What I can
I
only describe as a uh
what the like the voice line matrix?
yes, where he has the first letter of each line in a giant grid, and he uses that to yeah, here we go. I don't need it that zoomed in. It's like it genuinely looks like serial killer stuff.
It looks like a Zodiac killer ransom letter.
Yeah, but apparently that's what he needs to keep, it's effective for him in remembering what his lines are.
Jokes on him. I can tell what this movie script's all about now. What is this? We got NAO. What's NAO?
Good question. No.
Now,
Yeah, who could say, right? Um, the part of the funny part about the video though is the other people's reactions to seeing it, where it's like pretty understandably people just being like, what the fuck are you doing?"
he's Pascaline everywhere.
Yeah.
He's Morbin all over the place.
I'm optimistic for it though. I want it to succeed, of course, and I don't know if it will, but I trust Pascal's judgment in picking properties because he kind of has his pick of things right now.
Yeah.
Um, and Vanessa Kirby is great also. So
If
we'll,
you had to ask me,
just gotta wait.
if you had to ask me who is going to be the next Robert Downey Jr.
Yep.
for like the MCU, I would have told you back like at the end of Endgame, Chadwick Boseman.
Mm,
That didn't work out. Then
not
if you
quite.
were to ask me who would be the next Robert Downey Jr. after Chadwick Boseman passed, I would have said Jonathan Majors. That
Yeah.
didn't quite work out. Now, if you had to ask me who would be the next Robert Downey Jr., Pedro Pascal.
Pedro, please don't turn out to be like a pedophile or something.
Dude,
Just
no,
please
he's not.
don't.
Dude, it's plain as day in front of us right there. He's a fucking serial killer.
Oh no.
This man played Joel for God's sake. He knew what he was getting into.
Pedro Pascal being Joel with like severe PTSD is so fitting for Pedro Pascal.
And what was it? Vanessa Kirby is also in the new Fantastic Four, right?
Yep. Yep.
Nice.
She should be great. Her role in the recent Mission Impossible movies has been very fun. She's done very well with it. So
I also
interested to
believe
see
I
how
heard
she
a
does.
rumor she's the granddaughter of the creator.
Really?
I think so. Let me
Huh.
just confirm that. Nope, I cannot confirm that.
Of Jack Kirby?
Yeah,
It wouldn't be too much of a stretch. Well, I guess maybe there's like some link there, but Vanessa Kirby is English, and Kirby is of course American. So
that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because I'm looking at her
that would
father.
be weird.
Her father, Roger Kirby.
Mm.
That's quite the Wikipedia page he's got.
Oh yeah.
Dude is like a legit scientist. Well, surgeon.
The two are not related at all, according to IMDb.
That's perfectly fine. I
Yep.
think I'm going to need to kick someone's ass for spreading false news.
Yep. What's up with Vanessa Kirby's father though? What did he do?
He's like a really famous surgeon, apparently.
Oh,
Yeah, the dude is like kind of kick ass.
dang, he's got a stacked Wikipedia page. That's
Yeah,
wild.
this is like one of the actually most impressive Wikipedia pages I've ever seen.
Founded two charities: the Prostate Research Campaign and the British Urological Foundation.
Everybody, can we just go see Fantastic Four to support Vanessa Kirby in support of her father? Man's out here saving lives and shit.
Any last thoughts on Madam Web?
No, I'm more genuinely excited for Fantastic Four after they announced like all
Mm.
this 60s rebranding. I do
Yep.
not care about anything else in the world of superheroes at the moment, except maybe Daredevil.
Well, I can think of one more.
Hmm.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Shit looks fucking cool.
It does. I'm seeing Hugh Jackman in that neon fucking yellow suit is a beautiful thing.
Unfortunately, it wasn't in the trailer.
No, but we have like the pictures of it now,
Yeah,
and it's pretty great.
I'm a fan of the shot of
Like
Deadpool lying on the ground, and then there's Wolverine standing over him.
this is good shit.
Yeah, I want to know how they did that shot. Actually, now that I think about it, because like the camera's over him, but there's no shadow from the camera, but there is obviously Hugh Jackman's silhouette over him.
Yeah.
Kind of an impressive shot now that I think about it.
Knowing that after having just finishing the new season of Loki,
Yeah,
which I still very much recommend, seeing them tie into that with the Deadpool movie, I can't wait to see how they riff on that because with that being kind of like a new own thing, it opens itself up to all new forms of jokes to be written about it. Where with the typical superhero stuff, it's kind of played out at this point.
yeah.
It'll be fun. If nothing else, it'll be very stupid, and I think that's enough.
Honestly, it looks like it doesn't take itself seriously at all, and that's
Yeah,
all I ask for.
that's the right way to do it.
Uh huh. Now, if you had to ask me who the next Robert Downey Jr. would be after Pedro Pascal, it's out as a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yep.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
At this point, I've gone through a war of attrition.
Ryan Reynolds also turns out to be a serial killer, but we're okay with it.
At least with him, it's more believable.
Yeah. Oh my god, I need to know. Apparently, they have Owen Wilson officially cast in it as Morbius or as Mobius,
That's kind of hilarious.
which is amazing.
Do you think they will, kind of fuck with Sony and make Owen Wilson be Morbius?
I would not be surprised if they make a joke about it.
Same.
In non-film news, though, we had a couple of heavy hitters this week.
Ooh, I forgot real stuff happened.
Real stuff happened. Donald Trump is selling shoes. Big news. Big news.
How would you describe this drip he's selling?
It is God. How do you even describe it? Other
Because
than just like bad, it's like kind of like I don't know. It's just comedically bad. It's laughable.
but good sir, his drip, like, while it is bad, it has got
Yeah.
one very obnoxious quality to it that I
Yeah.
think we should point out. One
Yeah.
poignant piece of information.
Yes. What's that?
Donald Trump's trying to sell us his golden drip.
That's one way to put it for sure.
P fetish, known P fetishist Donald
Yeah.
Trump wants you to spend thousands of dollars on his golden drip.
Mm-hmm.
Even puts a nice big T on it for you. But yeah, these shoes are hideous.
I think it's going to be fascinating to see just how low quality they are when people actually start to get them, if they ever do.
So I'm kind of going through this thing right now where, because I'm running and I'm like looking at running shoes more often,
Yep.
I think I'm slowly turning into a sneakerhead because I've learned to appreciate shoes a lot all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, good shoes are worth the cost.
Yeah. These are butt ass ugly. They are,
They're terrible.
they look like just a regular ass pair of shoes with a
Yep.
T embroidered in
Yep.
and then spray painted gold. And for good
Yes.
measure, they put an American flag along the heel side.
Just so you don't forget, because you're 77 and you might forget which country you're supposed to be representing.
Okay, where the fuck are you going to wear these?
No, Trump supporters never.
Yeah, like when are you going to go out wearing the nice golden drip?
That's part of the thing that I don't really understand with this, right? Like, it's obviously his latest grift to get, funding because he doesn't have enough, or he soon won't, give it a few months after appeals. And we'll get to that in a sec after
Yeah.
this. But the, like, this is the problem when you make something limited, right? Or as they put it, super limited, is that when it is a limited number and you're the one selling it, you set from the start how much money you can possibly make from it.
Oh, yeah.
And in this case, it's not a lot.
How
They're
much are these
400
shoes?
bucks. There's a
400.
thousand pairs. That's $400,000 before any expenses get taken out.
So that doesn't include distribution. It doesn't even
Nope.
mention like the gold paint they use like spraying on these damn things.
Nope.
Does not even mention the fucking act of making these damn things.
Like even if you assume that it costs $0 for all of that and shipping is free and Donald Trump pisses rainbows on top of each one of them before they get sent out, you're still only going to ever get $400,000 off them. And we know from past Trump things that these aren't going to appreciate in value, so they can't like hold on to 100 of them and try and scalp them themselves later or something stupid like that because they're not going to be worth more.
Yeah. But why shoes? Why not a commemorative coin? Because those things are cheaper to
They've
make.
already done that.
I know, but that's the beautiful thing about commemorative coins. You can never stop making them.
I wouldn't be surprised if the actual answer to that is that they have literally bled completely dry the types of people that would buy a commemorative coin in the first place, and they've now had to pivot to like different market segments.
So that's another thing I find kind of interesting about Donnie's campaign.
Yeah.
he's still going after his old voter base, which is fine. Whatever. You're not
Hmm.
going to win if you keep going for the same voter base that lost you the last election. Uh,
Yep.
but it's been 8 years since he had a voter base that could realistically win, right?
Yep.
It's been one pandemic later where his voter base kind of died. Had an unequal amount of casualties during that pandemic.
Hmm.
Tragically, um, Donnie's voter base is either old and dying, dead, or he's just not making a conservative effort to get any younger voters.
Nope.
So
Well, that's why I got the shoes. Kids love shoes.
unfortunately, we do.
Have you seen the other pairs that he's selling though?
There's others in the gold.
Yeah, there's two others.
No fucking way. You are
Yeah,
lying.
yeah. No, no, I'm dead serious. Here, let me. We got the T Red Wave and POTUS 45 because Nike already took Air Force Ones.
It's so funny to me that these are half the price.
Yeah.
So there's a shoe I've seen on Amazon actually.
Yep.
It's a running shoe
Yep.
and it looks exactly like those. In fact, let me give you a picture of what it looks like.
Oh, I bet they're the same,
I
or
am
they come
almost
from the
certain.
same factory.
Yeah, because this shoe, I'm going to make fun of it because, as I said, I'm slowly turning into a sneakerhead.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I'm sure it's horrible.
it looks like a sock with
Yep.
padding. Yeah.
These
Uh,
look like socks that have the contrast turned down. Do you see how blown out
yes,
the red one is?
it's so awful. Like, that's not a shade of red that comes naturally.
No. I wouldn't be surprised if these are red and white shoes that have just been completely digitally composited over
It
with
does,
literally all the details.
yeah. Amazon's not letting me find that shoe. Just imagine the white shoe right there
Yep.
without any of the color. Anything that's like not even white,
Yep.
gone. And that's what it
Yep.
is. Yeah.
Yep. I believe it. Rounding it out, they also have the cologne and perfume by President Trump.
Oh, day
Victory
loser?
47.
Fuck off. That's good branding. Don't get me wrong, but fuck off.
Uh, Bonuses for the sneakers. Buy two items or more, get 5% off your whole order. Bonus number one, sneakers come with extra laces, an exclusive Trump superhero charm. Note the extra laces and the hang tag sneaker charm are only available if you buy two or more items that include a sneaker. And bonus number two, there's going to be an official Trump sneaker launch party, date to be determined. In parentheses, no guarantee President Trump will attend, which means he won't attend.
No, it just means there's no guarantee he won't attend.
Have you seen the charm?
No, please share that.
It is literally one of the NFT pictures, just slapped on a probably piece of aluminum.
Beautiful. Look at
Yep.
that. I
Yep.
remember that. God damn, we've been doing this
What
show
does
for a
that
while.
say? Oh yeah, because the stupid charm thing is numbered too. Because of course it is.
Yeah. How am I supposed to believe anything has value if there's not a number on it?
Yep. I love this.
This feels
Join Trump's sneaker community. Be a part of history.
it really feels like this is a farewell tour more than anything nowadays.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. What is this? Sorry, one sec. About to go down a rabbit hole here, I think.
Oh, I fucking love this.
They're selling these under the umbrella of 45 Footwear LLC, and are very explicit that Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, or any of their respective affiliates or principals are not associated with it or sold by it.
Then why are
I
you
wonder why
putting your
that would
name
be.
on it?
I wonder why that would be.
Oh, I found the shoes, by the way. Look at these hideous things.
God. Oh yeah. So that's definitely different, but that's quite awful.
Yeah.
That looks like it has like at least a real tread that would do something. What's on the FAQ page here?
Apparently, you can get them in monochrome colors like blue and red, which at least has some design to it.
Skimming through the FAQ page on the Trump sneaker website right now.
Yes.
Most of it's pretty just like depressing. Oh my god. What is so special about these sneakers and fragrances? Our official Donald J. Trump sneakers and fragrances are a tribute to the Trump legacy, blending premium craftsmanship with a distinctive style. Our sneakers are designed to stand out with bold elements like the gold 45 and the American flag, symbolizing leadership and patriotism. Our fragrances are curated to capture the essence of success and determination, with each scent symbolizing victory and strength. Spray on victory and feel the immediate power. Both the sneakers and fragrances are high quality products and a testament to the 45th president, Donald J. Trump.
So here's what I'm having a hard time with, right?
Yeah.
So, like you mentioned earlier, there's going to be expenses taken out of all these profits.
Sorry, real quick. What is the refund policy? There are no refunds.
Beautiful. That's what I'm talking about. Make America great again. Thank you. But
No.
the fucking idea that there's expenses taken out of all these, right?
Yes.
Why is he going for the expensive product route with his funding and
Yeah.
not actual donations?
So because that the thing with that is
Yeah.
that uh number one is like psychology, right?
Yeah.
People are more likely to give you more money when they're getting something in return, even if that something that they're getting is literally worthless. Same
Mm-hmm.
way that, like World Wildlife Foundation gives you a calendar or a stuffed animal or something when you give them money, because uh, getting something in exchange triggers the parts of your brain that associate, good, cool stuff with giving them money. So you want to get that again.
Okay.
And also for legal reasons, I imagine. They're explicit on this, that this is not political, it has nothing to do with any political campaign, and they're not managed or controlled by anything actually with the Trump last name in it.
Probably
And I
because
think
they don't want
that's
to report anything. Go on.
right. Once you start getting into like political finance and campaigns, it gets uh, very legally specific, and giving money is fairly easy. Giving money anonymously is fairly easy, but when you're trying to scam people out of their money, for lack of any better term for it, uh, selling them a product limits the liability you could experience later.
Mm, mm,
Think
mm.
about the shit they got into in December of 2020. There's lots of stories of people who signed up to give donations and before the campaign,
Yeah.
and because of the way that their websites were set up in potentially an illegal way, people were still being charged recurring payments afterwards in various amounts, and they lost all of their money and they sued to get it back. And I
Yeah.
believe in a lot of those cases they won their money back because the website did not properly disclose how it was set up by default. As a example of that, I highly recommend going to actual charitable locations, like charitable websites like the Trevor Project,
Mm-hmm.
and making a donation to them because it's a good thing to do, and also seeing how a legitimate organization sets up their donation page. It is incredibly explicit about what you're setting up ahead of time, and they have options for making recurring donations or for donations of various sizes, but they're extremely explicit about what you are signing up for at the time. And if you do want to sign up for something to be recurring, you have to go through multiple extra steps to do that. In contrast, when they set that up, none of that was the case. It was all checked as to recur by default, and it was not clear at all that that was what people were signing up for. They did. Giving somebody something in return, though, you're not making a donation then, you're selling them a product. And there's very little recourse for buying a product that you later find out that you don't like.
Fair enough, because you people like to say insurance companies are evil, right?
Yes.
The company I work for, we do automatic payments as well, but we have to do a signature form
Yeah.
to allow us to do that. It kind of blows my mind that a political entity didn't have to do a form like that to allow automatic payments.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anything else to kick Trump over?
I think we have something.
I was about to say, I feel like there's something to the tune of,
Um,
yeah,
what was it? I can't quite. Angeron? Sounds familiar?
mm, hum a few bars?
Donald Trump ordered to pay $354 million in damages to the state of New York. This
That's
is
not
a
too much for
doozy.
him. Yeah.
Short of actual criminal cases that have now had dates set for March, which is very exciting. Looking forward to how those turn out. This is by far the probably honestly a bigger blow to Trump personally because this is the end result of the cases that we've been talking about in the state of New York for years now, related to the financial fraud that Donald Trump and the Trump organization as a whole have been committing, and has now caught up with them. Uh, Honestly, it is kind of fucked that it's taken this long to get here, but it is at least about damn time that they finally did.
Our justice system is slow, and this proves it entirely.
I'm trying to find because I had a different link saved and I've seemingly lost it now. That had the full details, really concise write up of like what everybody was individually ordered to pay, and I don't see it anymore,
Ruh-roh.
which is a bit frustrating. Another part of this that's critical is that 354 is the number that is, on the order, but they're charging interest too. And with interest, the number comes up to over 400 million.
That's my favorite thing about the U.S. government. They never
Yeah.
forget the interest.
Oh no. No chance. Oh, is this the? Oh, please be the one because I have this one upvoted. So I'm hoping when it actually loads. Here we go. Yeah, this is great. The person who commented on it had to make 3 edits because there were corrections to it. So it started off where they said looks like 363, but it turned out that was the total sum of all of the defendants, not just Trump. So they dropped it to 350, and now they've corrected it again to 450. Now that we know what all of the inflation and interest that has to be accounted for is as well.
Imagine having to hear that full time. I'm like at real
Yeah,
time.
it's amazing. So we have Trump on the hook for $450 million. Um, let's just read through it here. The whole thing is great. Uh, Ordered that defendants Donald Trump, the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust, the Trump Organization, Inc., LLC, Holdings LLC, Holdings Managing Member, Trump Endeavor 12 LLC, 401 North Wabash, Trump Old Post Office LLC, 40 Wall Street LLC are jointly and severally liable to plaintiff in the amount of $168 million, $168,040,168 with prejudgment interest from March 4th, 2019. And it is further ordered that defendants Donald Trump, etc., 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 liable $126 million, and then an additional $60 million Eric Trump for 4 million, Trump Jr. for an equal 4 million, Alan Weisselberg for 1 million, and it is further ordered that defendants Alan Weisselberg and Jeffrey McConnell are hereby permanently enjoined from serving in the financial control function of any New York corporation or similar business entity registered and or licensed in the New York State, and it is further ordered that defendants Donald Trump, Alan Weisselberg, and Jeffrey McConnell are hereby enjoined from serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation or other legal entity in New York for a period of 3 years, and then the same thing for Eric and Jr. for 2 years. Get absolutely fucked, you orange bastard.
So, what are they going to do with Trump Tower?
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Uh, the, the hilarious part of this is kind of twofold, in that if Trump wants to appeal, the state of New York has a clause where, on appeal, as a show of goodwill for these sorts of court decisions, the person making the appeal, assuming they have been ordered to pay some amount, have to basically give a bond of 110 to 120% of the amount ordered before the appeal will be heard. So Trump has to
Hell
find a
yeah.
way to get like $500 million in actual cash from someone before the appeal can actually happen. And even in that case, the odds of him, like the only way that he gets out of this is by somehow stalling until re-election, and that seems like it's not going to happen because he's not been charged with a crime here. This isn't a criminal process that can be pardoned, right?
Yeah.
It's a civil matter that the state of New York has found him liable to these amounts. Um, and remember, on top of that, he has like the $80 million judgment from Ejon Carroll that he also has due and is also trying to appeal and will probably fail to appeal. So if he doesn't actually have this money, which he claims he does, but we know he doesn't, he'll either have to start selling off properties, which are almost certainly not worth what he claims they're worth, and is probably not enough. And the only thing left at that point would be for him to suddenly and suspiciously actually have this money from some sorts of unknown benefactor, maybe a foreign nation with interests that don't align with the United States. That's just speculation, though. Or get loans. Except the whole point of this case is him getting these fraudulent loans from banks and corporations that he has manipulated either the representations of his wealth or minimized that amount when it comes time for taxes to be paid. And if you're a bank and this decision comes down, this is like the reddest of red flags possible to discourage you from wanting to ever do business from this person again. So, yeah,
Yeah. He's fucked.
barring all of that, the state of New York starts legally taking possession of his assets and selling them off and or finding ways to garnish any of his wages. And the really big problem that he has at this point now is there's very little to stop the IRS at the federal level from looking into this in the same exact way.
Well, when they also have
And
like, sorry.
that becomes a criminal matter very quickly if it finds out that the IRS has been getting shorted systemically for decades on taxes.
Well, okay, so to my understanding, wouldn't all the evidence from this case be admissible to any IRS criminal case immediately as well?
Yes.
So yeah,
It is merely a matter of the IRS's attorneys and accountants looking at this evidence and deciding if they think it is applicable, because it's not a guarantee. It's very highly likely, and then they have to cross-reference that with their own records to see, how likely is it that Trump skimmed on us, and it seems pretty likely.
seems like there's a correlation,
Yeah.
or he just really hates the state of New York.
What do you know? The state of New York hates him too.
What are you talking about? He was in the greatest New Yorker movie of all time, Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. A movie about how New York is so safe you can leave your kids unattended in it.
So yeah,
Yeah.
for $450 million. We're and this is the big problem is that he has to get this money from somewhere. If this stands, and it almost certainly will, it's going to legitimately bankrupt him, and it very well might bankrupt the RNC in the process. We're starting to see reports from other Republicans trying to run for re-election that because Trump is so he has to fundraise so aggressively outside of the they can put the this is not a political thing on their garbage shoe website all they want. It is.
Yeah.
People are supporters of Trump because of their political beliefs aligning with the idea of Trump being some sort of god emperor slash Jesus 4.0. um
He's just really bad with money.
and that money is a finite pool, right? And it's hurting these people not being able to get the political contributions that they need to run for re-election. We'll have to see how it goes, but if that continues to be the case over the next 9 months, that could severely impact Republicans' ability to campaign, and then in turn impact their chances at getting reelected or elected in the first place, for that matter. You know, we've already found out that the Michigan Republican Party is bankrupt. It's not a stretch to look at other states and wonder how comparable their situations are as well.
I'm kind of curious now about the Michigan GOP because we have
Mm-hmm.
primaries going on here, right?
Yeah.
So, for all of y'all at home, I'm one of the 5 people that voted. Uh, Considered the possibility of getting out, like getting the primary for the GOP here in Michigan,
Yep.
just so I could fuck with it, being one of the 5 voters. But yeah, so apparently there's more GOP infighting because of the primary going on. Who'd have thought that?
Yep.
Because
And
one,
it's important to keep in mind for Michigan at least that our primaries are relatively divorced from the political process, where the candidates still have to declare a party, but they don't have to officially be affiliated with that party, as far as I'm aware.
I don't believe so either. I don't think they have
That
to
was
be
one of the
like a
big
registered
things
member.
why our attorney general didn't proceed with removing Trump from the Republican ballot in the same way that we saw with Colorado, was because under Michigan's constitution and election laws, the handling of primary elections basically has no qualifications other than some minimum requirements. There's not any sort of insurrection clause, so to speak.
Darn. What's the most annoying part about all this, though?
What's that?
It would just take the DNC, the Democratic National Party, right,
Hmm?
to settle on one mildly good choice to just destroy the fucking RNC right now.
Yeah.
But no, they still decide, yeah, let's go with Joe.
Uh, who would it be, right?
I mean, I
That's the
hate to
problem.
say get into the meme of it, but Kamala would be like the next obvious choice, which I thought she would be the choice
Look, I
because, yeah,
I hate that this is the way that our country is,
yeah,
but she is still a woman.
I
And
understand.
there are so many sexist motherfuckers out there that if you're talking about it from like a strategical standpoint, I don't think it gets there. I'll honestly be very surprised if Kamala is kept on as VP just for how fucked up the optics that the Democratic National Party tends to follow are.
That's fucked up. Fine then.
Which is weird because she's been, as far as VPs go, she's been no more or less successful than any others by any particular metric. She's doing great. She's doing her job, going overseas, meeting with diplomats. That's like the bulk of her work. And she's doing fine. But people are awful still.
You're right. You're right. I was being a little too
Yeah.
not pessimistic, but like optimistic.
I do also think that Kamala's record in California would not lend herself well on a national stage as the frontrunner,
Fair.
where her very pro police attitude, especially, would draw some particular ire.
Fair, fair, fair.
You know? And that's kind of the problem, right? You can bring up a bunch of other people that would possibly be good candidates.
Bernie. It's time
Oh,
for Bernie.
yeah, that spring chicken.
I wonder
Governor
what.
of California Newsom is another
Yeah.
one that gets thrown up a lot, but he is quite unpopular, even if he is pretty very easy to point out as a like policy wise very successful.
Despite the sexism, I would also say a big Gretch run.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think for this year she doesn't have the experience yet. I'd
Yeah.
love to see her go into like a Senate seat or something like that after her term expires.
Oh yeah.
Just so she can get more ingrained at like a political level with the underpinnings of the federal, ball, so to speak. Yes, that's probably not the right term, but it's very much an in group, right? I'd love to see her take on more federal positions. I think she'd do great. I think she'd do very well for herself there too. And
How
it
about
would not be much of
Fetterman?
a stretch to see her keep. I don't know. I like Fetterman a lot, but I don't think it is a stretch to, uh, he is a great advocate for his people. I don't know how well he can advocate at a national level, and he
I'm
might be
just
great.
I'm just
But
gonna keep saying the buzzword people until you say yes.
yeah, I of any of them that I know of, there is not a single one that I would say definitively yes to. And that includes Biden. They all have problems. There's not,
Yeah.
I don't know.
How
And
about
I guess that's just the natural state of things, right? Nobody's perfect. But I think that the problems that a new candidate would present are problems that would be best tackled in a different election year. One where the alternative isn't the guy that has literally said, on day one, I'm going to be a fascist, a
yeah?
dictator. That was his word. I'll be a dictator for the first day.
Only the first day though? How much damage could that be?
Yeah. And, he's so great at keeping his promises. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
That's really good. I like that line. Thank you very much.
Like, Biden, as good of a guy as he is politically, as far as I care, on January 22nd, he can fall over dead for all I care, and we can take the VP up. It's just, the November first Tuesday after the first Monday in November through putting his hand on the fucking Bible. That's all we need. Keep Trump out of a position where he can pardon himself in a legally dubious measure that will certainly not cause cascading problems from there. Nah, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. This is the decisions that we're forced to make, right?
Andrew
I think it's going to
Yang.
be an interesting thing to see. Assume Trump doesn't win the next election, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Assume he dies, goes to jail, doesn't fucking matter before the next one can happen. I won't be surprised if we see a strong Republican surge at that point.
I do feel like the moment he gets off the stage, they're going to be a
Yep.
lot more collective.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would I would hope I don't know. I don't know. It sucks and it's hard. I would hope that gives a large enough number of politicians the room to like actually have their own politics for the first time in their fucking lives
No,
and not
it's
just toad whatever the party line is. But who fucking knows?
I liked it better when we got the black guy elected for president. Politics was a lot more fun back then because we all got to feel good about ourselves for a week.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I think that's all I have. There's some other stuff we can get into, but there's been so many like little legal things that have been going on over the last like week and a half, right? Where little rumblings down in Georgia that sound like such like boy who cried wolf kind of bullshit. That I don't even want to give it the time of day because it seems like it's such an overt like news media attention grabbing kind of tactic rather than an actual legal one that I don't think it's worth talking about. We'll talk about it when there's actually a decision to talk about.
What's the thing going on in Georgia? Is this the Nazi thing I saw?
No, Trump's lawyer in the Georgia RICO case is accusing is it Fannie Willis, I think, of having hired one of the prosecution's attorneys that's working on the case as part of some quid pro quo thing.
Oh, get
Because
bent.
they allegedly at some point had some sort of a relationship in terms of like a personal like boyfriend girlfriend kind of thing, even though the details surrounding that are so far only being testified by one person who I have seen described best as a disgruntled former employee. So
I
yeah,
love how it's so vague when you get to like the actual subject of the matter, but
yeah.
everything else is like you know how to. Yeah, you're right about the boy who cried wolf shit. Yeah,
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 it
apt.
sounds like the exact kind of smoke that Trump's lawyers have been blowing up the media's ass for the last 8 years now, and I'm kind of fucking tired of them falling for it still. Um, in Florida, we also have more stuff with the documents case, where Judge Cannon is trying to allow Trump and his lawyers access to confidential information that would include names of some of the people involved with it, that Jack Smith seems pretty rightfully concerned would lead to that information being released out into the public and then those individuals being harassed over that information being attached to them. He's been trying to bar access to, Trump and his lawyers disseminating that information. Gannon has so far not fully issued an order on that yet, but I believe by the end of not this next week, but the week after, we'll have an answer to that. And it seems very likely that Smith is going to have to appeal that up to the 11th Circuit above Cannon. And I have seen talk that it may be the thing that finally gets her removed from that case, but maybe isn't. So, again, could be big, probably isn't. And it feels a bit premature to really talk about it in any detail.
Fair.
We also had a case in New York where the star witness against Hunter Biden turned out to be kind of nothing and didn't testify or some shit. I barely even heard about it other than it's just like, yeah, that's about what we expect to happen. So, you know, lots
Yep.
of little things happening, but not a whole lot to really talk about as a result of it. Um, I guess there was also the 60 some Republicans that put out an official statement in support of insurrectionist Trump to the Supreme Court, which is kind of dumb, but, not particularly stupider than we would typically expect from them. Oh, here it is. Former FBI informant charged with lying about the Biden's role in Ukraine business. When this being Hunter Biden, not Joseph.
Not Johan.
Yeah,
It feels like that was just a political tactic.
it is entirely same
Yeah.
as Benghazi with Hillary. All right, Air Canada Air Canada must honor refund policy invented by airline's chatbot. And to be clear, that's a bit of a misnomer. This was not a policy invented by the chatbot. This was a policy that the company had that the chatbot inaccurately applied. Air
Yeah,
Canada has been ordered that they do have to abide by the agreement that the chatbot made.
that's messed up.
After months of resistance, Air Canada was forced to give a partial refund to a grieving passenger who was misled by an airline chatbot inaccurately explaining the airline's bereavement travel policy. Uh, Moffat, person who sued, when the grandmother died, Moffat visited the Air Canada website to book a flight from Vancouver to Toronto. Unsure of how Air Canada's bereavement rates worked, Moffat asked the Airline Canada's chatbot to explain. The chatbot provided inaccurate information, encouraging Moffat to book a flight immediately and then request a refund within 90 days. When in reality, Air Canada's policy explicitly states that the airline will not provide refunds for bereavement travel after the flight is booked. Moffat followed the chatbot's advice and requested a refund, but which was rejected. Air Canada argued in court that where was it? Uh, they had a really good thing. The chatbot is a separate legal entity that is responsible for its own actions. You'll be shocked to learn that that didn't work.
It's like the monkey with a camera situation.
Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of. If you put a monkey with a camera instead of your actual customer support, sometimes you're going to give people the wrong information.
It reminds me of that one screenshot that was going around. I think it was fake at the end of the day, but it was like some dude basically made it so a chatbot sold him a car for like $100.
Yep. Some interesting parts in this. A portion of the ruling that resulted in this as a result of the idea that the Air Canada FAQ website that includes the accurate information on their bereavement policy, um, there is nothing that indicates why that would be believed to be more trustworthy than the chatbot itself. So for other companies that try to implement this kind of stuff, they could very easily just, put like a generic tagline somewhere that says, the chatbot is not to be believed. Don't believe its lies, kind of bullshit. So I won't be surprised if this just involves a very quick change for other companies to not get duped by it. But it is very funny that it happened in the first place.
We will
And,
always stand.
it's the
Yeah.
kind of thing that, like, we've been warning about this kind of stupid shit forever. And thankfully it was over something as relatively trivial as this was. But like we saw with the British grocery store that encouraged people to make mustard gas with their grocery list because it didn't know how to handle non-food items and it just guessed and put them together. I don't know. Companies need to pump the brakes on their AI experiments.
What does it say that they are basically experimenting with AI in terms of like with the customer, Because like this feels like something that should have been focus grouped first.
Mm-hmm.
Feels way too rushed.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Anything else that we have?
Yeah. Mexico is suing U.S. gun makers.
Hell yeah.
Let me get to the meat of this because this is what I was checking out just before we went on, where I was just like, is this an actual story? Is this something? And it seems like it might actually be a real story.
I'm excited for this one.
Mexico claims that U.S. gun makers have engaged in, quote, deliberate efforts to create and maintain an illegal market for their weapons in Mexico. Per the lawsuit, manufacturers are intentionally designing their weapons to be attractive to criminal organizations in Mexico by including features such as easy conversion to fully automatic fire, compatibility with high capacity magazines, and removable serial numbers. Mexico has also pointed to industry marketing that promises buyers a tactical, mirrored military experience for civilians, and Mexico alleges that manufacturers distribute their products to dealers whom they know serve as transit points for illegal gun running through illegal straw sales, unlicensed sales at gun shows and online, and off book sales disguised as inventory theft. Mexico claims that illegal gun trafficking is not just an unwanted byproduct of the industry's design choices, marketing campaigns, and distribution practices, but instead is feeding demand for illegal weapons central to the industry's business model. The notable
That's
thing that happened this week
yeah.
is that a part of this lawsuit, which Mexico is seeking $10 billion in damages and a court order to force the companies to change the way that they do business, the Boston court decided that the industry's shield of immunity, which is so far protected from liability, does not apply in this lawsuit, and they will have to go forward with it. So that's the big thing, is that the judge has said that you don't get blanket immunity, you will have to respond to this in some capacity. And that's a pretty
Ooh.
big change.
Yeah. I like it. So
Federal Appeals Court in Massachusetts, they decided that Mexico's allegations, if true, would deprive the gun makers of immunity, and it has sent the case back to the trial court. Mexico now needs to produce evidence to prove its allegations that the industry is not only aware of, but actively facilitating illegal gun trafficking. Yeah,
that is such a big ask. I'm kind of like scared that they started the lawsuit, so clearly they think they have some way of winning.
right.
Yeah.
In particular, the where did it go? Um, distributing their products to dealers who they know serve at transit points. That is the kind of thing that they could very easily be like, yeah, we sent these people to these locations. They brought guns and brought them into Mexico for us. If they
Oh
have that
fuck.
kind of information and they can prove some sort of like systemic actions that are happening to that end, that's kind of slam dunk.
I this is like my case of the year, I think,
Yeah.
because like holy
We'll have to see if it
fuck.
goes anywhere, but
Yeah.
high potential for sure. And wouldn't it be fucking ironic if Mexico, of all places, managed to get United States gun laws actually changed?
You know, if they have like a legal campaign fund or anything like that, I'm willing to donate. I know it's a whole fucking other country's government, but holy fuck. Cuz like so here's my question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cuz the way I look at this, say Mexico wins this, right?
Yep.
What is stopping individual states from following the same lawsuit if they have particularly high like gun like trafficking rates as well?
Exactly. That is the big concern, right? The
Yeah.
gun makers are claiming that they have a federal shield from immunity because of the degrees of separation that are involved with this. If this, nation of Mexico is able to prove that that's not the case, that they are directly involved with this and are able to get a settlement from it, it does exactly that. It opens them up to other scrutiny from other, not just other states, but how about Canada? The U.S. is one of the greatest locations of gun trafficking into it as well.
Yeah.
Other Central American nations, right? We are, by our disgustingly lax gun laws, we've ended up being the arms dealer for every illegal entity that operates just outside the US's borders as well.
It's
And if
amazing
they
though.
get the $10 billion in damages that they're looking for, that could easily push any number of these specifically named gun manufacturers into bankruptcy.
It's the kind of thing where like this is Pandora's box
Yeah.
and like this is it's not the
The
kind of thing.
writer from this article that I'm reading here, this is Timothy Litton, makes a good point, comparing this to the recent cases we've seen in opioid litigation. Industries that were for a very long time believed to be protected because of their apparent separation but after litigation happens, were found to be pretty immediately involved with it and forced to change the way that they operate to prevent it from happening in the future.
Christmas came early.
Kinda.
Yeah. This is it's
Exciting.
wild. Yeah, it's exciting. Can't wait to hear about the verdict in 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Something else we'll have to keep our eye on, probably in also 3 years. Uh, Amazon has written on with to agree with Elon Musk's SpaceX and Trader Joe's suing to say that the National Labor Rights Board is unconstitutional. Very early
Uh
days for this,
yeah.
potentially exceptionally dangerous ramifications if they found to be correct.
What's their case about it being unconstitutional? What part of the Constitution does it break?
Uh, That is a good question. They say it violates the separations of powers and infringes on executive powers stipulated in the Constitution.
Ow!
Attorney also argues that the NLRB proceedings deny the company a trial by a jury and violate its due process rights.
You ain't a human being.
It's the kind of thing that I it should be like a slam dunk. Get the fuck out of here, you dumb corporations. But with the current Supreme Court, you never fucking know.
That's the scary part, isn't it?
Yep.
Because, like, okay, let's say, like, they do win this and they get, like, full personhood from this, like, ascend, become human. Fucking Barbie in the Barbie movie.
Mm-hmm.
That, does that mean I can murder them? That we can do such a thing? Not like
You
the
know,
individuals, just like the company in general.
yeah, it's a good question.
Could I file a death certificate and take away all of its rights?
I don't think so
Could
because, corporations are obviously not held to the same standards that the rest of us individual people are. But it would be nice.
wouldn't it be nice if fuck. Oh well.
So we got 20 minutes. Let's just talk more about Loki season 2.
You fucking nerd. Go on, please. Please tell me more.
No, I don't have much more that I can say without spoiling it at this point. So I'm gonna be a good boy and wait.
I'm so sorry I have a life.
Just do a double check here. Make sure I haven't forgotten anything else. I don't think so. Anything else you'd like to throw in while I'm double checking?
Um, I feel like I did have something I wanted to bring to the show this week,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also kind of a dumb bitch. Um, let's see. I did bring stuff, but I don't like them. I don't want to talk about them anymore. That fucking Sora AI.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine that it's kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that I very much, you know, being somebody who's aware of this happening and knows, to be looking for things in the first place, there's very obvious problems with it, right? That are giveaways that the videos are not correct, but boy is it kind of scary still.
It's
I'm
all
very glad to not
noisy.
be in the stock photography field.
I can't wait for the day, right, where we have like OEN, I'm sorry, OAN, One American News,
Hmm.
where they are using this kind of AI to make like slander and libel against public figures.
Yep.
I cannot wait for that day because it will just,
I I'm not convinced they will allow, not Sora at least, because they're run by OpenAI.
yeah,
They won't allow that to happen. But I don't doubt that someone else will try to do that. I think it's going to really struggle, though. I've watched a few people look at who are in those sorts of spaces, looking at the videos, trying to sort of like think back to like how does it work, right?
yeah,
From a machine learning perspective, the idea of making a single image is not conceptually particularly, you know, challenging as a concept. Translating that into movement is, and it seems like there is for Sora at least, the persistence that it has is using some pretty aggressive calling back to previous scenes in the same way that you would expect in like an interpolation, right?
yeah,
Where it's taking two things and looking at what would fit in between them and then extrapolating that forward. And at some of the longer videos they uploaded, you can definitely tell in short periods. Like there was a really good example pointed out in, I think it was the one, not the one that you sent me the link of, but one of the other ones that's just like people walking. There's a sign that passes fully behind someone's head and appears on the other side of their head, and it's the same sign. Even though it's still like kind of like not quite comprehensible, the sign itself doesn't change after it passes completely out of frame for a couple of seconds. And
yeah.
that's huge. From like a technological perspective, that is an incredibly challenging problem that they've found an answer for, and I have to wonder if they've just done it by brute force, because that's like the easy way, right? You
Yeah.
just tell it to analyze the last 10 or 15 seconds, and anything that's outside that window gets lost. Anything within it, they're able to retain just by doing, side by side comparisons. On the other hand, though, there is still lots of problems with it that are kind of fascinating in their own right, with how, from like a temporal perspective, it doesn't understand time having a single direction, only that certain motion precedes or comes before or after something else, not the direction that that actually goes. And there was a couple of good examples of that in the examples of the people walking, where it looks like they're kind of like walking backwards.
Yep.
They gave another good example where they showed someone on a treadmill, like literally just walking the wrong way on the treadmill, as an example of something that didn't work. Stuff like that, where it's not able to, because it doesn't obviously understand these connections as actual things that are attached to one another. It's just kind of guessing, and it's able to guess really well. And in the same way, it struggles with maintaining scale, where things scale up and down seemingly at random, because it kind of is at random. It knows that a ball should be a ball, but it doesn't know, like just an example, what scale that ball should be relative to a person. And as the ball moves around, if they, assuming they trained it on video, the ball could be a foot away from the person, or it could be 10 feet away from the person. And that relationship, it doesn't have a way of knowing. It only knows that the round thing sometimes is bigger than a person and sometimes it's smaller than a person. So it'll change to be what it thinks that should be.
Well, it's because you're asking an AI that's only seen 2D space in like video
Right.
to describe 3 dimensions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it legitimately does not have a concept of that.
It's like asking us to describe a fourth dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and here just to have as a reference. This is the oh I cancel paste missed a character. That is the video that I was talking about where there's stuff passing fully behind the person in the foreground that remains unchanged when it comes up and it appears on the other side of them. But then, in the same video, there's also other problems that are happening. But could it fool like, your parent? Yeah,
Oh,
almost
totally.
definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just not convinced that you'll be able to tell it to recreate a person, a
Well,
specific person.
yeah.
Or even if it can pick up on a person, I'm not convinced it'll be able to correlate that person specifically with audio, right? Because those are very different things. And you can tell an audio AI generator to spit out Biden saying whatever the fuck you want him to, but matching that to an AI generated video is a very different challenge and very hard. Let's see.
Yeah.
It's uh good way I saw it phrased when someone was talking about it as a sort of like a framing device is that from now on, this is the worst it's ever going to be. It can only get better. So
Tragically.
leave the people with that terrifying thought.
That's something I kind of am scared about in like the
Yep,
big grand sense of AI because like AI can copy a voice.
yep,
It's learning to copy video.
yep,
And we know it can copy writing styles because it just needs to be fed a whole bunch of examples of how to write, right?
yep, absolutely.
How morbid would it be that probably we could make an argument maybe our parents' generation could have an impression of an AI, like in them of them after they pass.
Yep,
Because like definitely our generation's going to hit it. It'd be easy. Like the real time crunch would be like a generation ahead of us.
right. From a moral point, all right, so from like a lack of morals point, I have
Yeah.
no doubt that that'll happen in our parents' lifetime.
Yep.
Someone will try to do that. I doubt it'll be tasteful or effective, and
Yeah.
it'll be very gimmicky, right? But someone will absolutely try to do it.
Someone will try to do it and market it as a service, like a funeral home.
Yep. I am not yet convinced that there will ever be something that can absolutely recreate the, a person, right? Make a copy of them. We're
No,
we're
because yeah,
we're so far away from that still.
there's no consciousness to it. It is literally just a word generator that's just been
Yeah.
fed a specific pool to generate from.
It's very complicated math.
Because like, imagine this, right? Say
Yep.
like we'll use the example of like a grandparent passing away, right?
Sure.
So someone from our grandparents' generation dies,
Yep.
and using the AI tools we have at the moment, they wouldn't have a great significant pool. We could have video, so we can say the voice is there,
Yep.
and we can have the image there. But like the writing samples for like how a person chooses language and how they decide upon that, you might get like grocery list. So you have an
Hmm.
AI impression of an old man, say, just recite off 3 cans of beans, chili night, going to need like ground beef 1 pound, over and over and over again. Because like a sample a sampling platter to choose the words from is never going to have like a psychology on how to choose those words or how to communicate.
Right.
And like again, it's like a 2D image trying to recreate 3 dimensions, and that's like a metaphor for a person almost. Because like an AI could never get like a subconscious right, or
Correct.
experiences.
Not with this type of technology, at least.
No,
It's just fundamentally not comparable.
no, and there will always be that uncanny valley of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that we're going to get very good at hiding that uncanny valley, is what's going to happen.
no, because yeah, they're going to play towards like here's the real scary shit, right?
Yeah.
They upload a Facebook profile as samples of a person to use for an AI.
Short term, what I could see happening
Yeah.
is somebody works to make like a last words program where
Ooh.
you have a relative that's deceased
Yeah.
and you pay them and give them all the information that they need to generate a video of that person saying some
Goodbye. Yeah.
heartfelt platitudes that they never actually did to give you and the rest of your family some semblance of closure, artificial as it is.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that I would expect. Something that is targeted and specific and very narrow in its scope for what can happen to make it very easy to spot where things go wrong and curb them.
Ooh.
A couple of the thoughts that I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that at how little these examples that they posted on Twitter, because from what I understand, they posted this on Twitter and similar things on their website as like a more of an extensive example of this. But how relatively little views this has. Like, I'm curious.
Well, isn't like Twitter like mainly bots at this point?
Well, I mean, sure, but it is still, even if the numbers aren't the same, they are relatively comparable, right? But I don't know. Like, so here's an example, right? Uh, OpenAI posted their examples on Twitter February 15th. They have between uh, 2 to 5 million views on most of them, with the animated lookalike scene being a bit higher and the initial one being closer to 90 million views. But most importantly, I want to point out the one that I linked to you currently has 4 million views on it, and it's been up for 3 days. Taylor Swift put up a link to pre order a new edition of an album 2 days ago, and it has 16 million views.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's kind of funny.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
uh, there's just such a disparity in what people are paying attention to that I find really concerning. And it's where these are going to work. Because that right there is, assume that that's the population of the world. You now have 2/3 of the world that isn't aware of this and isn't looking for it. And they're going to get tricked by it without question. And that's what I have concerns about. Is it's not from the perspective of you know artists losing their jobs, because that's going to happen. It's going to be awful,
Yeah.
but that's relatively insulated on a global scale, and it's not going to be what the AI evangelists are talking about, where it's like make an episode of The Simpsons with Brad Pitt and whatever and blah blah blah. It's not going to be like that because that's so far away and so artistically bankrupt and not particularly profitable that I can't ever see that happening either. It's going to be somewhere in the middle where you have places like, say Amazon implements this on their website to generate an AI example of a product being used. And all you have to do is upload a handful of images of that product in relation to people, and it will generate examples of the product being used. You don't have to hire models, you don't have to hire a set. All you have to do is have pictures of your product.
Okay.
Those are going to mislead people almost guaranteed into buying something because they're not going to be showing it used perfectly. And that's going to impact a shitload of more people into spending $10, $20 on something that they don't use, that gets stripped out of their wallet day by day. And it's not just going to be Amazon, right? It'll be all over. You're going to see an ad, right? That's how marketing works. You see an ad and it's made by AI and it's 98% accurate, but it's not 100% accurate. And that 2% inaccuracy is going to trick people into buying something they wouldn't otherwise on a promise that doesn't exist.
You mean like a refund that doesn't exist?
I don't know.
I'm trying to compare it to the earlier fuck up we were talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
That's what I'm concerned about is the inaccuracies of it, right? It's not perfect. And specificity matters a lot.
I'm of the opinion that the basic idea that we all hear of artists losing their jobs is going to happen regardless, like you said.
Yeah.
I'm a little more optimistic because I feel like I have to be, otherwise I'd be too depressed to function. That
Mm-hmm.
AI is a fundamentally flawed product, right? We've kind of hammered that
Yeah.
head. Yeah. If you are going to take a professional, very talented worker, all artists are talented. That's the basic
Yes.
fundamental of life right there, right?
Yep.
Says the guy who's also artistically inclined, so he's kind of stroking his own dick. But anyway, uh, you have these people displaced and replaced with something that's worse. There's one thing I
Mm-hmm.
would like to believe that these people would still have the goal to continue what they're doing and that they would eventually make something better than what they
Yeah.
came from, and that somehow that would make the market not exactly more fair, because let's face it, capitalism isn't fair. There's stuff that is just too much money to ever die, but it would make it more bearable, you know.
Yep.
Maybe you don't say you work for Amazon anymore, but you have your own business now, which I think that's
Yep.
something to be even more proud of. That's the only hope I can wish for with the AI displacement that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I know there's always going to be those skeevy, like, anti-consumer aspects to it,
Yep.
which definitely coming, definitely fucking coming. Uh,
There's a really good question that I saw posed that ties into that yesterday, where it was, why isn't AI doing the tedious shit for creative people instead of the creative shit for tedious people?
I love that. Can we get that
Yep.
on a shirt?
Yeah. Shirtbot, make it up.
Yeah, there you go, Shirtbot.
Yeah. Another good one from YouTuber Sean said, put a post up the day after the videos went up. He said, saw someone talk about how AI video means you'll be able to tell it to make more episodes of your favorite show that's been canceled. Uh, AI evangelists do not understand art. They don't get why anyone would actually want to make it. They only know it is a thing that can be sold, and they think they can replace artists with robotic arms like it is happening elsewhere. And then he had a follow up to that. Let's see if it actually gets here. Yeah, where he said someone saw someone calling me snobbish for looking down on people just for wanting to be creative. No, telling the computer to make you another seasons of Friends is not being creative. It is being uncreative.
The epitome of the, like, antithesis of creativity is Friends.
Absolutely.
I fucking hate Friends.
Well, and the idea of, AI as a concept, it
Yeah.
is fundamentally only ever going to be derivative.
I think you can make an argument for free will existing just because AI can exist.
I guess.
Yeah, free will exists because we can have original thoughts, and here's like what would
Yeah.
something that's purely derivative concoct. And eventually you'll get to the point where AI is just fed more AI schlock and it makes a de evolution of content.
Hmm.
So I like to think terrible people are fundamentally self destructive in their own little ways.
Yep.
And eventually it will cascade. So I just got to perk up, stay happy. God, call my therapist after this episode. It'll be fucking great. Anything else for the show, good sir?
All I got. Oh, I did actually want to mention.
Yo.
Um, just 'cause I think it's really cool. And it's a bit bittersweet. But last year, one of the founders of the Commander format, and one of the pioneers of judging in Magic: The Gathering as we know it today, Sheldon Meanery, passed away from cancer, which is very tragic. He was a very well liked figure in the community and amongst its members. And this week, it was announced that a series of cards were being made in honor with him that were started to be made prior to his death in collaboration with him. And it's just very cool. So I just wanted to make a note of that. We'll have some more details about it over the next couple of weeks from like the art perspective, but
Yeah,
it's from what we've seen so far, it's already looking like a pretty exceptional tribute to him. So it's very cool.
that's really badass.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I'm Mr. Ryan, and this has been a quadruple A podcast.
And oh god, let me see if I can think about this. And I'm Cairo, and I'm AAAA Schmo.
Ooh. This has been the Two Schmoes Show.